Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving right into something that literally affects every single one of us, and that is Chapter 6 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Now, I want you to think of a local village council. You know, where the elders and community members sit down together under a big tree to agree on the rules for the village. They figure out how to share resources, how to keep the peace, and, really, just how to help the community grow. Well, Chapter 6 of our Constitution is about exactly that, but on a much, much larger scale. It's about how we make the rules for our entire national family. We actually call this National Council the Legislature. So I'm going to break down exactly how this works in simple, everyday English, so you know your rights and exactly how your country is run.
Okay, so here's our simple roadmap for today. We're going to look at 1. What is Parliament? 2. The National Assembly. 3. The Senate. 4. Making the laws. 5. Keeping your seat. And finally, number 6. Why your voice matters.
All right, Section 1. What exactly is Parliament? Well, it's the voice of the people.
So let's start right at the foundation. The Constitution says the legislature is made up of Parliament and the President. But what does Parliament actually do? Well, Section 117 tells us that Parliament is essentially the big meeting place for all of Zimbabwe. It's a group of people chosen to make laws to keep our country peaceful, orderly, and well-run. Think about it like this. If your local community needs rules to make sure the community borehole is shared fairly, our whole nation needs rules to make sure our roads are safe, our schools get built, and our hospitals have medicine. And the most important part? Parliament gets its power to make these rules directly from everyday citizens, just like you.
Moving on to Section 2, the National Assembly. This is all about representing every single community.
Let's step into the first big room of Parliament, which is called the National Assembly. This room represents the many, many different voices from our local towns and villages. So, who gets to sit in this room? The rules are actually really simple. You only need to be a registered voter and at least 21 years old. That means young adults who are fresh out of school or maybe just starting their first job can have a powerful, direct voice in how our country is run.
And the Constitution guarantees that everyone is included. The National Assembly has 280 members in total. First, there are 210 members elected directly from local areas all over Zimbabwe. That means your specific neighborhood has a designated person to speak for it. But to make absolutely sure no one is left behind, the rules guarantee 60 extra seats just for women. That's 6 from each province. It also sets aside 10 extra seats specifically for young people between 21 and 35. This ensures that women and the youth will always have a seat under the national tree to speak up for their peers.
Next up is Section 3, the Senate. Think of them as the Council of Elders and Chiefs.
So now we meet the second room of Parliament, the Senate. If the National Assembly is the loud, energetic voice of the local areas, the Senate acts much more like a wise council of elders. They check the rules that are made by the younger assembly. Because of this big responsibility, you must be at least 40 years old to sit in the Senate. This rule is there to make sure senators bring mature life experience, deep community knowledge, and real patience to the nation's biggest decisions.
The Senate is a smaller room with exactly 80 members. 6 members are chosen from each of Zimbabwe's provinces. But what's really beautiful is that it creates a very special, protected space for our traditional leadership. The Senate includes 16 traditional chiefs, plus the President and Deputy President of the Council of Chiefs. It also reserves 2 seats specifically for persons with disabilities. This guarantees that our local customs, our heritage, and our most vulnerable citizens are never, ever forgotten.
Let's just put these two side by side to see how this builds our national family. On one side, you have the National Assembly. It's larger, it's younger, starting at age 21, and it's tied to every single local neighborhood. Then on the other side, you've got the Senate. It's smaller, starts at age 40, and brings in the deep wisdom of our traditional chiefs. This isn't an accident. It's done completely on purpose. The fast-paced assembly and the older, wiser Senate balance each other out perfectly. It means no single group can just rush into decisions that affect the whole country.
Section 4, making the laws. Basically, how does a proposed rule become an official law?
Okay, so we know who is in the rooms, but how do they actually make a rule that everyone must follow? Section 131 of the Constitution gives us a very simple 3-step journey. Step 1. Both the National Assembly and the Senate must look at the proposed rule, debate it, and agree on it. Step 2. Once Parliament agrees, they send the rule over to the President of Zimbabwe. And Step 3. The President has to agree and sign it into law within 21 days. It is truly a complete team effort.
But wait, what if they don't agree? You know, what if Parliament says yes to a rule, but the President says no way? Well, the Constitution actually has a backup plan for this. If the president sends the rule back, Parliament looks at it all over again. If a very large number of the lawmakers, we're talking 2/3 of the National Assembly, still vote for it, they can pass it anyway. The president must then sign it. This just proves that while the president is absolutely powerful, the final say still belongs to the large group that represents you, the people.
All right, Section 5, keeping your seat. These are the strict rules for our lawmakers.
So, we give these politicians a lot of power, right? But how do we make sure they actually do the work? Section 129 explains how lawmakers can easily lose their jobs if they break your trust. For instance, if a member of parliament decides to just stay home and misses 21 working days in a row without permission, they are automatically fired. I mean, you just can't be a lawmaker if you don't show up to make the laws.
The bottom line is lawmakers are not above the law. They have strict rules to follow just like everyone else. Aside from missing work, a lawmaker can lose their seat if they resign, or if they suddenly change the political party they belong to back when you voted for them. They also lose their seat if they commit a crime and are sent to prison for 6 months or more. This is all to ensure that only responsible, law-abiding people stay in your national council.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 6, Your Voice Matters. Because the power truly belongs to you.
Let's look at how all of this connects directly to you. You know that official coat of arms symbol you see on all the government papers? Well, the Constitution clearly states that the power to make laws comes directly from the people. Parliament doesn't have power just because they're special people. No, they have power because you lent it to them through your vote. This entire system relies completely on the authority given by you, the everyday citizen.
I actually want to share a really powerful quote with you. Section 119 says, Parliament must protect this Constitution and promote democratic governance. What does that actually mean for you in everyday life? It means all parts of the government must answer to Parliament. Parliament's core job is to stand like a giant shield to protect your rights. They're there to make sure the country is run fairly for everyone, from the lowest local office right up to the very highest.
And that brings us to the most important takeaway of this entire explainer. Parliament makes the laws, yes, but they work for you. They are your National Village Council. They were created by your vote, they're funded by your taxes, and they're told by the Constitution to protect your peace. So now that you know exactly how this system works and how it makes sure your youth and your elders are represented, the final question is simply this. How are you going to use your voice to guide them?